All right, welcome to Matters of Substance podcast. I'm Chris Ray. I will be your host today, and I am with a couple of women from within the community that are doing some pretty cool stuff. So with me, I have Carolyn Higgins, who's the program director from Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition for Porter County. And I also have Donna Golob, who's the executive director of PATH, I'll let her say what the acronym stands for. So I'll let you guys go ahead and talk a little bit about yourselves. We'll start with you, Donna.
So PATH, a positive approach to teen health. Most people in the community know us as PATH, so that's fine. I'm excited to be here today, and before we get too far in, I just want to give a shout out to Irene, who is our third collaborative partner with the Lake County Tobacco and Education Program.
All right, and Carrie?
And I am Carrie Higgins, and I am the program director for the Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition for Porter County, affiliated with the Valparaiso University College of Nursing and Health Professions.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for coming out today. I'm just going to start off we're going to talk about what this forum is that we're going to talk about. It's let's go ahead and mention that right now. It's the Youth Wellness Forum that's coming up, and we'll talk more about that. But what made you want to get involved with this? What was your impetus behind this?
So last year we had the opportunity to collaborate on a summit, and we called it the Amazing Adolescent Brain is what we did last year, and it was great. We had a really good turnout, and it was important, I think, that we start there because of the effects that tobacco and THC and other substances have on the adolescent brain at a very fundamental formation time for them. And most people think about the adolescent brain as already being fully developed by the time someone reaches around 10. And the truth is, what we're coming to know more and more as science evolves is that the adolescent brain is still developing and forming and doesn't really reach maturity till the mid-20s. So it was amazing. We had a great speaker. A lot of really good information was provided. But what we decided during that time in talking about what was next was that you can only talk about that for so long and so much information. And there was so much more that we wanted to just bring resource-wise to the community. So we decided to move forward in the idea of a youth wellness forum and look at the holistic approach to how we can help our youth be healthy. And in them being healthy, bring stronger health to the community at large.
Great. So how did you guys begin collaborating together? You're two different organizations.
So like I said, there's actually three of us. So it's the Lake County Tobacco and Education Coalition, Carrie with the Porter County, and then myself. And I started working with Carrie at the Tobacco Coalition because I think that in talking with the youth that we serve in schools throughout Lake and Porter County, over and over again, we heard that one of their main concerns in the school was around vaping and just a growing problem. And the more I learned about it and the more I listened to the students that we serve, the more I became aware that that was a gateway to so many other problems. They use vaping as coping skill. A lot of them get involved with vaping through peer pressure, which is where a lot of us start bad habits, right?
Yeah.
Peer pressure. So, in focus groups for programming over and over, we heard especially the girls say that vaping was the number one problem that they would like to see resolved in the school. We have students that will go all day without using a restroom because they're concerned about being caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. We have schools that we serve who have taken doors off the bathrooms, and then girls don't feel comfortable, or there's not enough privacy. They don't feel comfortable going to the restroom. And it's all because of this vaping. And, it used to be smoking in the bathrooms, and we kind of got a handle on that, in part to coalitions like what Carrie and Irene are doing and making changes and setting policy and standards for, tobacco cessation, which is going well. But now we have this vaping problem that really needs to be addressed. And like I said, what we're realizing as an organization that works with youth around risk behavior prevention as a whole, is that this vaping is turning into a gateway for other addictive behaviors. So it just seemed a natural fit for us as a youth serving organization to work with
Yeah.
Carrie and her organization.
So, Carrie, with I know you're with the Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition. I'm assuming vaping then fits right in with your mission, even though it's not always tobacco, is it? I mean, I always hear like Fruit Loops vapes and stuff like that.
Right. That's one of our main issues with vaping is the flavors. That's what attracts youth to those products. So we do say tobacco in general, but what we find is that vaping is being used mostly by youth and young adults, obviously. But the fact is that there are things that draw them to that vaping, and what we focus on is the marketing that gets done. They really heavily target the youth and the young adults, mainly youth. Those flavors that they come up with, there's over 15,500 flavors that are out there, and some are the most popular are the fruit flavors or the candy flavors and things like that. And what we find is those flavors were actually specifically designed and studied by scientists to look at how our children have grown up and what kind of products did they like, what kind of candy, what kind of pop, what kind of gum, and they will make flavors based on those products to appeal to them. So that kind of draws them in that way. Some of the marketing is just really heavy, as evidenced by our recent, within the last day or so, settlement with Juul e-cigarettes. And so, they got hit with a $438.5 million settlement that they have to pay to 34 states and territories. And while what we find is that's the tip of the iceberg. Marketing's marketing. The tobacco industry knows what it's doing, and they're targeting our youth. They know they need to replace folks who, the older folks who are cigarette smokers. Young people don't really smoke that many cigarettes. So they need to figure out a way to get income coming into the tobacco industry. And $438.5 million is, kind of a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of money, but they pay over $1 million a day in marketing. So we know that that's really not, it's like a parking ticket for them. So what we'd really like to see is all e-cigarettes companies not marketing to youth. And we'd love to see e-cigarettes just go away, period. But that's going to be a big battle. But there's the battle right now for menthol, to get rid of menthol as well as other flavors, and we hope that we see that happen. We know that there's some legislation out there that's actually helping with that, but we'll see in the long run what happens. But the marketing is a big issue, and our coalition focuses on that a lot. We really target that as well. We observe it. We go around the county and figure out how each retailer of tobacco is marketing, and is it appropriate? We can't do anything about it, but we observe it. We're not out there like the police to do anything about it. But we've also seen marketing to our local youth. For example, we've had a vape shop pop up right across from a middle school in Portage, and we're really disappointed in that. Even the mayor of Portage is not happy about it and doesn't want it to be there because she understands that that's not a great thing for the kids to be looking at every single day. Mm-hmm. And so, I know there's hopefully some things being looked at right now to try to remedy the situation, but we need to prevent vape shops from being close to schools. It's an Indiana code. They can't be within 1,000 feet of a school. So we'd like to see that get taken care of. But our coalition focuses on, some things like that as well. We work with the schools. We work with legislators and policymakers. We work with multi-unit housing and all kinds of different areas. We provide programming to pre-K programs like the Head Start program. And we work with great organizations like Donna. We know our coalition is based on we've got many folks that are throughout the community, and we all tend to see each other on different coalitions. We all tend to participate in various coalitions throughout the county, like the Hub Coalition here, the Wellness Coalition in Porter County, and the Tobacco Coalition that I'm in charge of. But we have great people in our community who do great things, and that's why we form this collaboration, because Donna's organization, my organization, Irene's organization in Lake County, we're all seeing the same basic issues. And it's just a challenge to tackle them independently. So when we can tackle them together in a collaborative way, it's so much more comprehensive. And then we get to work with great organizations like the Substance Abuse Council, Hub Coalition, in order to get our information, pool our resources, get those resources out to parents and other organizations that might need them.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, did you have something to say, Donna?
Yeah, I was just going to kind of dovetail off of that and just say that many of those people that we collaborate with are going to be able to be our guest speakers at the Youth Wellness Forum that's coming up. And the targeted marketing is one of our breakout sessions. So if you're interested in that, there's going to be a breakout session for that. And I think, too, it's good to know that there's going to be a youth voice at the forum as well. Our goal is to have some of the youth that are involved in our programming speak with legislators. We've invited all of our state legislators to participate in the forum and have a community conversation. So it won't just be our voices bringing information, but the youth are going to share their experience around vaping and other things that they have difficulties with, and then ask some very pointed questions of our policymakers and decision makers on how they could better support our youth, and really look for some very clear answers on making changes. Like, for example, what are we going to do about that vape shop across the street from a middle school?
Yeah.
That's a big question. What are we going to do about that?
So yeah, I was going to segue into this whole into the forum, and you did that beautifully. So yeah, let's continue going into what can people expect from this forum. Can you tell us a little more about this?
Sure. So it's pretty much a full day event, and we're targeting. It's open to the public, so anyone is welcome. But it seems like the folks who would get the most out of it could be educators, social workers, mental health workers, school personnel. For sure, and parents in general. I mean, we're giving out a lot of information, a lot of resources that day. The highlight is going to be our keynote speaker, who is Dr. Victor DeNoble. And Dr. DeNoble's an ex-scientist for Philip Morris, and he was the first whistleblower to testify in Congress that nicotine is addictive. And he has a story about how he took on that billion-dollar industry, tobacco industry, and he has a really captivating presentation about the dangers of nicotine use, vape pens, addiction, and he calls it Inside the Dark Side. So it's very interesting. He does a great job, and I think that people will really enjoy listening to him. Now, he will be there virtually. He was unable to attend in person, but all the other speakers will be there in person. And it's going to be at the Harre Union at Valparaiso University on September 27th.
Oh, good. Yeah,
so,
we get the date in there.
Yeah, September 27th. So we're opening. We're going to check people in from about 8 to 8:30, and then 8:30 we'll have some welcome comments from the sponsoring organizations, and then we'll start with Dr. DeNoble's presentation and move on from there. So that's going to kick off the day. We have another keynote speaker or presentation with Dr. Teresa Kessler and Dr. Lynette Raymond, and they've done some vaping research with college students. So even parents who are looking at what's going on with their kids now, they might be able to get an idea of how that will look if they continue to vape when they're in college. I know that I've had conversations even with college counseling centers who have said that it really does, the vaping does impact performance in school, and they see it where some college students might not even be able to finish a semester because they just can't focus or pay attention. It really does affect your brain and your anxiety levels. unfortunately, students think that, or a lot of youth think that it helps and it calms them down. And as we all know here, it's the contrary. It actually makes anxiety or mental health disorders actually worse. And so it's not good for mental health at all.
So are these, you were talking about how it affects their ability to even finish a semester. Is that just the regular vapes, or is this like THC vapes? Or
that's just the regular vapes, and that was those were conversations I had even before they started figuring out they could vape THC. So, but we do find that population increasingly says that they, or reports that they are vaping THC even more than they're vaping nicotine sometimes. So it is a natural gateway, so to speak, from one to the other, and we're seeing that, and it happens pretty regularly. We also see that youth that vape and start vaping and would never touch a cigarette, usually within about 18 months are smoking cigarettes as well, and they kind of use those two main products interchangeably. So yeah, and we have done vaping prevention. We don't typically go out and do our own vaping prevention programs, but I train teachers and school personnel to do them. Donna and Path, her staff, was kind enough to allow us to train the Path staff, and so they can go into the schools because we don't have enough manpower or funding to do that.
yeah,
What we get, the state gets something like $75 million or $73.5 million for from the tobacco settlement every year, and we get about $7.5 million of that to go towards all of the entire state, all of the county coordinators like myself, which once you spread that out, it's very thin, so we don't have staffing to do that. And organization partners like PATH can help us get into the schools and get that done. But schools can even call us, and we can train the school personnel to do those programs on their own, and it's very easy to do.
great. So this, if I'm reading right about this forum, it's not focused. I mean, it starts with vaping and cigarettes and smoking, but it's not restricted just to those topics, is it? It looks like it gets into mental health and some other important issues.
Yeah, I think that as a group, we collectively decided that we really wanted to take this first year of what we hope will become an annual event and lay a foundation around whole person health and health from a very holistic perspective. So as Carrie said, a lot of times youth will start vaping at a young age, and that will take them into something else. They think it's going to be a healthy coping skill, but it's not. It makes them more anxious, and then they need something else to help with that anxiety, and it just kind of builds. So one of our breakout sessions is going to be around emotional literacy. One of the things that we find is youth that just don't know how to even express what they're dealing with and what the stressors are. If you talk to youth, they're either angry or they're sad, and that's about as much vocabulary as they have. But are they disappointed? Are they frustrated? Are they lonely? We just came through this huge pandemic, and kids have been isolated, and now they're coming back together. But you think about it, freshmen never learned how to socialize. Middle school is very much a time when kids learn social interaction. First time they're changing classes and experiencing different levels of communication with their peers. And most of our kids did that at home or on social media, unfortunately. And so what we know is they're extremely isolated, and they don't have the skills that they need to be able to interact with one another. So we're going to talk about emotional literacy and how we can help kids kind of express themselves on a better level. Of course, there will be some information around teen vaping. There'll be a breakout session specifically around targeted marketing for youth. And then there's also going to be a breakout session around optimal health, and what does that mean? How do we get kids to focus, from where they are to a healthier place, to a healthier place, to a healthier place.
Yeah, that could be helpful for a lot of adults I know too.
Yes, for sure, right?
Myself included.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, on the flyer here, I see something about mental health coping skills, and I do know from our work at the Hub Coalition too that at the root of a lot of substance use disorders, I won't say 100%, but a high percentage of them can be traced back to some sort of mental health challenges that weren't addressed earlier in life, and the drugs were, or the substances were, just an attempt at self-medication. So this is, I'm glad to hear that you guys are tackling that. And you said the keynote speaker will be speaking pretty much first thing in the morning after check-in. Would that be like around 9 a.m.?
Yes, that's
Oh.
exactly at 9 a.m.
Okay.
that we're doing that. And we're going to look at that from all the way until 10:15 or so. We're going to have, and there'll be opportunities for questions and answers as
great.
well. And then we go into the community conversation after that with the local legislators. And we're really not looking to corner them on anything as much as we are the youth really want their advice on how can the youth be more effective in using their voice to work on public health issues like this, because it gets very frustrating for them when they see that oftentimes legislators will say they support something, and then sometimes when it comes down to voting, there's always something that happens that kind of ruins that, and it's not as an effective policy as it could be. And so the youth they want to have a voice, they want some answers, and to find out how can they help the legislators work on this vaping epidemic, and the policies, and what can they do to help. So we're really hoping that some of them will join us, because we have some legislators that are really wonderful usually about having these community conversations, and we're hoping some of them will come out and join us. And then during lunch we'll have another keynote with, like I said, the one with Dr. Terry Kessler and Dr. Lynette Raymond will be talking about change strategies for limiting vaping on college campuses, and it's really a survey of what the students thought and the student feedback. So it's really some great information. And then we go into the physical and mental health information. Is there a connection? And we have Eric Evans joining us from Geminis Head Start, and also we have Sherry Knoll, who is a probation officer from Lake County, because she gets to see the extreme scenarios, through the probation juvenile division. And so we're really looking forward to her feedback on that as well, because a lot of times things start very, and they're not so harsh in the school system. Although schools are scrambling to try to figure out how to have punitive policies, but yet how to help kids with these addictions and not just make them about being punitive. And we also, the coalition staff, are also here to help schools do that. We work on those policies with them and try to find a better policy so that it's not merely punitive, but that it is, looking at the addictive, process, and how can we actually help the kids. And so then we also have, that kind of takes us right into signs of addiction and healthy coping skills and the road to recovery. So Laura Arendt from Franciscan is going to help us with that as well. So she's with Franciscan Health, and she's going to talk about the recovery component with that. And then we have a great session with resource officers, school resource officers. So I know as well, Valpo Police Department, their social worker Sam Burgett is going to join us, and she's going to give parents resources and where to go when you think that your child has a problem, or if you know that they have a problem. She's going to give out resources or provide resources. But Sergeant Chris Swickard from the Chesterton Police Department, who's also the Chesterton High School resource officer, is going to join us. And Chris and I have had lots of great conversations. He participates in our community conversations with Porter County on a regular basis, and he has lots of great feedback. I mean, one of the things that shocks me the most is when school resource officers report that parents are actually buying the vapes for their kids. That's a huge problem. I don't know if parents think that they're really not that bad for kids, and kids often sometimes think that they're just flavored It's flavored water, but there's no water in a vape. And so they need to know it's all chemicals and it's all nicotine. And even some that say they don't have nicotine in them contain nicotine. So they get addicted very fast to these products. And when we have parents buying them for the youth, it's ridiculous. They get addicted farther faster. If you think about it, back in the day, if you smoked a cigarette, you couldn't smoke in school. You had to take a break and go outside if you were at work. Now you can vape constantly, and kids hide them in their hats and their sleeves and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a constant vigilance that needs to be on the part of the teacher and the nurses and the school resource officers, and it's exhausting. And like Donna said, the bathrooms, there are vape detectors you can get. They're very expensive, and it's just a monster of a problem. And it takes a lot of resources, time, money, patience. Mm-hmm. And so Chris is going to talk about a lot of the different things that they're seeing, and what's the culture like in the schools among the teens? What's the thought process? And we want teens to know that really not everybody's vaping, but it seems like everybody's vaping. But there are plenty of kids who don't. They're just not as vocal as the kids who do. And so what's the culture? Who else is promoting this? So if we don't have parents saying no, it's easy enough for kids to get vapes from places they shouldn't be getting them. They get them online. They know where to get them. And so it's very frustrating for school personnel that they're bringing them to school. And they're bringing them to school and they're dealing these products. We even have heard of parents who are sending their kids to school with vape products to deal so they can make money. And I've heard this from children myself who've come up to me at different events, outreach events, and told me that that's the case, that, hey, my mom or my dad sends me to school with vape products they buy, and they want me to sell them. And that's inappropriate.
That's concerning.
So it's very concerning.
I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but if parents are interested in coming to this conference, well, I guess there's two questions here. Does it cost any money? And then where would someone go listening to this to find out information about buying tickets or whatever?
Yeah, so we did our best to keep the cost minimal because we do want people to be able to attend. So the cost is only $25 for the full day, and that includes a light breakfast and lunch and an afternoon snack. If you're attending, you also get CEUs. We're looking at providing 6 CEUs through the Geminus Corporation. They're hosting or sponsoring our CEUs for us. If you're in the education field, we have PGPs available for you. And we really do want parents to attend. And I think that, Carrie talked a lot about the negative side of things. And sometimes I think parents just don't know what they don't know. So there are those parents out there promoting bad habits. And I think that's just, whether you're talking about drinking, we've talked about that at the Substance Abuse Council, parents who host parties, and if they're going to drink, we'd rather they drink at home. Well, there are those parents, but there's also parents who just don't understand. And so this is a perfect opportunity for parents to come and learn what's happening in their kids' world, get the facts so that you can talk to your kids about it in a way that's intelligent and you know what you're talking about and you use language that's relevant. And I think that's really important for parents to understand. If you're going to talk to your kids, you need to know what you're talking about because they know what you're talking about, right? So You need to be educated. It's really important. And we're going to have a lot of community partners there with tables, distributing a lot of information. So a lot of resources will be available that day beyond what we're offering in our breakout sessions. So to learn more, that was your second part of your question, you can go to the eventbrite.com and just put Youth Wellness Forum in the search and it'll take you there. Or you can check either one of our websites. Paths is positiveteenhealth.org. Hit our events button and the forum is right there with a link to registration.
Great. And Carrie, what's your website?
valpo.edu/TEPC.
Okay. not too complicated, either one.
No, it's also on our Facebook page as well. So the flyer's on our Facebook page. And we're really looking forward to it because we have an annual community conversation, but it just makes so much more sense when all of these things are really intertwined. Mental health, even dating violence. We'll have the Caring Place said they're going to be there. We see a lot of issues pop up with teens that are using poor coping skills. And so while we seemed like, years ago we would approach all of these things in an independent manner, we've all learned very quickly that we need to be collaborative about it. And we really enjoy conversations with various professionals and parents to try to educate those that, are not sure about the information. And you would think that, it kind of surprises me sometimes. For example, I had a nursing conference that asked us to bring a table of vape products because they didn't know what they looked like, and these were school nurses. It was the state school nurse conference, and so you just kind of assume they know what they look like, but they don't. They're busy nursing for and providing nursing services for kids. So we're glad to do that. We get materials confiscated from all the local schools, and that's what we use for our displays. And we're glad to have those conversations. And our youth that we have in Porter County, we have a group called Voice Porter County, and I know that there is also a Voice chapter in Lake County, and kids 13 to 17, 18 can join that group and be a part of in a group with other youth that actually don't want to vape or that want to also push back against the tobacco industry. We have local events. It's a lot of fun. A lot of times they meet on Zoom, especially when youth are strapped for time and they're in all kinds of other sports and things. But youth can get service hours if they're required to get service hours at school. They can get service hours by participating with our voice projects and things like that. And we celebrate a lot of those days like the Great American Smokeout and things like that, or World No Tobacco Day. And so a lot of our youth do big events around that. One of the things they're doing now that's kind of fun is they're collecting used shoes in order to put up displays for the Great American Smokeout. So every pair of shoes can serve as to symbolize somebody who's lost their life, due to tobacco-related illnesses. And they're going to create displays at as many of the schools as they can with the shoes. And then they're going to donate any usable shoes for, to a good cause. So if anyone, wants to donate lots of shoes, we are collecting them right now at the Tobacco Coalition at Valpo University. So
Great. I know as a parent myself, and I'm sure parenting has always been difficult, but it just feels like things are coming at you so fast anymore that it's almost impossible to keep up with what, and now I'm going to really sound like the old guy, but to keep up with what the kids are into these days. But yeah, it's hard. I feel like I'm pretty technologically up to speed, and I'm constantly befuddled by the youth today. So,
and I think the manufacturers keep it that way.
Yeah.
They want, once we catch on to what's happening and we can confiscate those things, they come up with something a little trickier, a little easier, a little smaller. I mean, kids are vaping with things the size of a flash drive, right? Or they look like a pen or a pencil. So, I mean, unless you know exactly what you're looking for, you will miss it. And as a parent, how do you know if you're not told by somebody?
Yeah.
And so we feel that this is just one opportunity to inform and educate parents and youth and those who serve youth, just with the latest trends and how we can be helpful. Kids need all the help they can get these days.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this sounds like it would be a great opportunity if you're just a parent, if you're not a professional in any of the youth related industries. If you're just a parent, this sounds like there will be a lot of good information for you here too. So
For sure.
All right. So I guess we're getting close to the end of our time. Do you want to mention? Do you have sponsors you want to mention or anything that you can give a shout out to, or did I catch you off guard?
No. Valparaiso University's College of Nursing Health Professions is hosting it. Obviously, it's at the Harre Union at VU. But Franciscan Health is also sponsoring that as well, because we are all grant funded, the tobacco coalitions, so it's kind of a little complicated relationship. However, we write the grants through the university. The university is the lead agency for the Porter County Tobacco Education and Prevention Coalition for Porter County. Irene Boone Phillips is the coordinator in Lake County, and they have the tobacco coalition in Lake County, Indiana, and so their lead agency is Franciscan.
Okay.
So those are where Irene and I come from, and then of course Donna's with the Positive Approach to Teen Health, based out of Portage, but she serves many counties and areas, and so those are the main hosts of this event. We do have other sponsors, though, I believe. And so the SAFE Coalition in Lake County also has sponsored. We have one of the physicians through Franciscan Health has actually decided to support, and he's covering the keynote speaker fee. So we have some folks that are providing resources like that.
Great. And you guys have mentioned your own organizations. Do you want to? We've spent a lot of time talking about this conference or the forum. And do you want to say anything more about your own organizations? You talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but.
Well, I'd be happy to. I love talking about what we do. So PATH, as Carrie said, provides services to in-school and after-school programming around risk prevention education. We talk about all the taboo subjects that nobody else wants to talk about. So we talk about drugs and alcohol. We talk about sex. We talk about suicide and suicide awareness. That's really kind of become an important conversation. I took the time to become QPR certified and ASSIST certified, and a lot of our schools, September is Suicide Awareness Month, and so we're going to be doing some extra speaking to schools, doing some assemblies around that subject this month. And I think it's just really important to understand, as Carrie and I have both said several times, if you connect the dots, they're connected. These kids are just really struggling, adults too, but the focus of what we're doing with this forum is around the youth that we serve. Kids, we see it in the news, as young as 6, 7, 8 years old who are committing suicide or dying by suicide. And connect the dots. Where does that come from? It comes from bullying and peer pressure and social media influences. And, our kids are hurting and they don't know how to cope and they don't know how to talk about what they're feeling. And so the more we can educate ourselves so that we can educate our youth on healthy coping skills and how to have conversations and break the stigmas around mental health and around suicide, the better. The more voices that we have having these difficult conversations, the better. And that's a big part of what PATH is doing right now, is really getting the word out and educating our youth and parents and other adults that can support youth in making healthy decisions and pushing them towards healthy coping skills, setting goals and learning how to reach those goals, setting boundaries for themselves and for their relationships. So we do that. Our primary focus is 6th through 12th grade. We have a lot of programming available to schools in the area. So if you're a parent or an educator and you're listening and you think, our school needs that, or where can I get more information? Again, you can reach out to us through our website at positiveteenhealth.org.
Great. And Carrie, you talked a little bit already, or quite a bit, but go over again what you guys do and put your website out there again.
Sure. A couple of things that I haven't mentioned so far, so that I don't talk over myself. But we have a coalition of folks, like I said. So anyone is welcome to join that coalition. We have Obviously, we have nurses and medical health provider representatives. We have not-for-profit representatives, anybody dealing with health of any kind. But parents are welcome. School administrators are welcome. Really, anybody's welcome. It's hard to get youth because we usually meet during the business day, but we have our youth group that handles that. So we're looking to have everyone, no matter who you are or what group you represent, we're looking to have those voices come into the conversation. And we're often trying to establish smoke-free comprehensive policies in cities and hopefully eventually the county in Porter County. And we'd like to see a whole comprehensive policy in the county. But so we use our coalition members to work on various efforts like that. One of the big efforts that people might hear about more often is we try to get providers and organizations to become preferred providers to the Indiana Tobacco Quit line, and that is quitnowindiana.com. And so anyone can go to that and get free services. They have free nicotine replacement therapy products, free information. There's a texting program for younger folks who want to text, or even any folks who want to text. There's a website-based program. You can get phone counseling. You don't have to get phone counseling, but it's all free. And if you just reach out through quitnowindiana.com, even parents and adults can get those resources that they need. And sometimes they call on behalf of their children, and that's okay too. But what we really want to do is get people referring patients and friends and family to that website. But we also want them to, you can call or you can go on the website on your own and call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. 1-800-QUIT-NOW in order to get that help that you need to quit. You want to be role models as parents and folks that are handling and raising these fine teens. And so it really is difficult when you have that habit yourself. And we understand. We're not looking to say that's we know that that's a habit and it's an addiction, and it can be a behavioral addiction and it can be a chemical addiction or both, and the longer it goes on, the harder it is to quit, and you don't always quit the first time. So we're hoping that we want to get those resources out there. There's just so many youth resources available through all kinds of agencies, and we'll be pointing folks in that direction at the Youth Wellness Forum. But if you want resources in the meantime and you can't make it to the forum, if you go on valpo.edu/TEPC, there's a resources tab on our website, and you can access many of the resources that we talk about that way. And just like Donna said, we are also available to work with schools, parents, anybody that wants to bring us in. If they want our youth to come in and do a peer program for a youth group, a club, a church organization, we're there to work with any kind of a youth group. And as far as adults, we can do programs for parents, PTOs, school organizations that the parents do any kind of a presentation or some kind of conference themselves. Or for teachers, we can train teachers, we can train anybody who wants to be trained in vaping prevention, or just to get them resources. If you have a business and you want to put out resources for your clients or people that visit, or your staff, your employees, we can provide you with that information as well. So
great. Well, thank you so much. We are just about at the end of our time, but just to go over the forum again, it's the Youth Wellness Forum, September 27th, which is that a Tuesday, if I remember right? Yeah.
Yes.
Tuesday, September 27th at Valparaiso University. Is it Harre Union?
Harre.
Okay. It starts at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m., to 4 p.m. roughly. And if you guys want some resources, this would be a great opportunity to get them. And I know we've thrown a lot at you today. If you're listening to this on the radio, we are also on a podcast, so you might be able to download it and listen to it again if there are parts of this you missed and you want to hear again. It's Matters of Substance on WVLP, but also on a podcast wherever you download podcasts. And I'd like again to thank Carrie and Donna for coming out today. And we encourage everyone to check this out if it all pertains to you. If you have children, if you're a parent, if you work with children, youth. I shouldn't say children because teenagers, 18-year-olds don't seem like children anymore. But thank you for your time, and we will see you next time.